Welcome to the webinar on stress management. This is sponsored by Minnesota Tamil Sangam and Tamil School. We are a non-profit organization promoting the culture and the language of Tamil community in the state of Minnesota. We conduct many cultural activities like Sangamam, which is an harvest festival, and Muttamil Vizha during summer. We also conduct weekly Tamil language school for our children and after school workshops on Tamil cultural programs and martial arts. We conduct various competitions like spelling bee and immersion camps during summer. And during this time of social isolation, when we are all in lockdown, for the benefit of our members and a larger audience, we are initiating a webinar series from this week. It's going to be a weekly event. Today, we are going to talk about stress management. And I am Arumugam, and with me, Tamil Kadir. We are both going to be the moderator, and I will give the podium to Tamil Kadir just to give few housekeeping rules.
Thank you, Doctor. Just a couple of points. I would request everybody to just mute their microphones. We will be opening the call up for questions towards the end of the call. You can feel free to unmute your microphones then to ask your questions. But otherwise, through the presentation, please keep your microphones muted. For asking questions, you can of course use the chat box on the screen here if you want to ask questions. And of course, you can also ask questions anonymously if you prefer using the Google form that we got distributed earlier. I will also paste a link for that in our chat if you want to use. But we have already have a good set of questions which Doctor will go through, and we are targeting 30 to 40 minutes of presentation time and 15 to 20 minutes of Q&A towards the end. So, and if you can sort of hold on to your questions till the end of the talk, that'll be appreciated. So with that, thanks, Doctor, for offering us your time for this call. So we really appreciate it. So the floor is yours.
Okay. And COVID-19 pandemic is not anything we have seen in our lifetime. None of us have lived in Civil War or World War time. This is enormous in terms of 22 million people have been affected with this condition all over the world. Nearly 215 countries have been infected with this. In United States alone, last time when I saw about 722,000 people are infected, more than 30,000 people have died. To give a perspective, 9/11 we used to think is the darkest day in this history of United States, in which about 3,000 people died. This is like having a 9/11 every single day for the last several weeks. When there is a natural disaster, it will affect one portion of the world. All of us will go and help those countries. This is like having a tsunami affecting the entire world. All of us are struggling with this pandemic simultaneously. In US alone, more than 22 million people have applied for unemployment benefit. This is in comparison to about 8 million people applied for unemployment during 2008 or 2009 recession. Unemployment rate has gone up from 3% before the onset of this pandemic to almost 15%. During 2008, recession, there was unemployment rate was about 10%. During Great Depression, what used to be called in 1930, the unemployment rate used to be 25%. We are almost there. It is gut-wrenching to see all these numbers. In 11 years of uh, bull market has came down to crashing halt to a bear market status. Uh, all of us, uh, lots of us have lost our job. Many of us are on furlough, which is like a leave of absence. All our immigration status is inextricably intertwined with our job. All of us in a state of shock or a stress spiral. How do we describe our emotion? I am scared. I am overwhelmed. I am hopeless. These are some of the sentiment expressed by all of us. How do we cope with this? How do we get out of this stress spiral? To give few helpful tips, we have the guest speaker today, Dr. Sreejaya Veluvali. She is a adjunct assistant professor in the Department of Psychiatry at the University of Minnesota. She has done her undergraduate training from Siddharth Medical School in Vijayawada, India, and she is double board certified in both adult psychiatry as well as addiction medicine. And she is the medical director for the addiction facility in Fairview system. She has been practicing since 2007. She is married and has two boys, and her area of interest are addiction, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder. It's my great honor to introduce Dr. Sreejaya Veluvali. Um, Thank you for your talk. Take it away.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction. I want to thank all of you for giving me your time. You could be doing any number of things this afternoon, but you chose to come and listen to this lecture. I'm really very happy to do this. I want to thank Dr. Arumugam, and I also want to thank the Tamil Society, the Tamil Sangam, for doing this, reaching out to your community and fixing the things with near and dear is really very important step that we can do. Um, I'm going to give an overview. I'm going to talk about what is stress, try to talk a little bit of neurobiology. I'm going to talk about how we deal with it, and I'm going to answer some questions. A lot of you did send me a lot of questions, and I'm going to try to answer them while I go through the presentation. And if you can save your questions towards the end, if the themes continue to recur, I'll be more than happy to answer these questions. So one of the things that I have about like a few slides, and one of the things I will talk is to ask Tamil Kadir to move the slides. But with that, I'd like to start with the first slide. Can you move to the first slide? Okay, good. So what is stress? Before this pandemic occurred, you've heard the numbers. Stress management was something that we all wanted to do. This is something that was on our to-do list. But now it is front and center of what we need to manage, what we need to achieve for us to kind of continue to do this. These are unprecedented circumstances. So if I was to define stress, it's a state of mental and emotional strain or tension resulting from adverse and very demanding circumstances. Dr. Arumugam gave you what are those demanding circumstances. So when we feel stressed, the stress hijacks our brain and makes simple tasks overwhelming. And this stress everybody experiences, even single cellular organisms. And this stress can be productive and can be counterproductive. There was a time when we were stressed before we had an exam, before we had a project. This stress would help us to function well. But if it is too much, it's counterproductive and it does not help. And that's why we want to talk a little bit about it. Can we go to the next slide, please? I want to talk about the stress response. When we are stressed, it impacts our body. So what happens is when we get stressed is that we don't breathe, or our breathing becomes shallow. So when this happens, your brain does not get any oxygen. And at that point, the brain releases chemicals to the heart. When these chemicals are released, the heart starts pumping faster. After it finishes the blood that is there, it needs to get the blood from the periphery. So it gets blood from the stomach, it gets blood from your limbs and arms, and that's what you feel. You feel like your heart is beating fast and you're sweating. You feel suddenly cold and hot, and you feel chills and you feel dizzy. These are all the symptoms of stress that you feel. Now, very simply put, we have a lower brain or primitive brain, and we have a higher brain or neocortex. When we are stressed, our lower brain takes over and gets us out of trouble. This was evolutionary, that helped us to protect. And when we are stressed, that brain takes over, but we can train our higher brain to deal with this, and we have to learn to do better to help with our stress. Brain is the most amazing organ. You can teach it things and it will learn, but you have to practice it. A good example would be like all of us can run, but if tomorrow we signed up for marathon, none of us would be successful. This is because marathon runners train themselves. So these techniques that we talk about, these are things that you need to implement for you to be successful. There is a phenomenon called epigenetics. Epigenetic is the environment impacts how you express your genes. So this has been studied, and we cannot control. Well, we can control some part of the environment. Some part of the environment we can't control. As there is that saying, pain is inevitable. Everybody is going to feel the COVID-19. Every human being will feel that, but suffering is something that you can it's kind of optional sometimes. So okay, great. So what are normal reactions to COVID? I want you to take a minute and think about how you're feeling. Whatever you're feeling, whether it is isolation, loneliness, angry, overwhelmed, irritable, all of these are normal feelings. We are concerned about a lot of things. We are concerned about our jobs. We are concerned about our health. What will happen to me? How will I go through with this? We are worried about money. We are worried about family. Also, we are worried about immigration status. So there is no normal reaction to COVID. Whatever you're feeling is appropriate, because we are in this mode where we are trying to figure out new normal. Human beings are used to a routine. We like things in boxes, and now all those boxes are thrown everywhere. So we are trying to figure out and make sense of it. Can I go to the next slide, please? Okay. This is a slide that I want to spend some time talking about. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. In times of crisis, we default to the lowest level of need. Only by fulfilling the lower level of needs can we move on to a higher level in the pyramid. Now, if you look at the bottom, I don't have a pointer, but you guys have to look right there in the yellow. It says breathing, food, water, sex, sleep, homeostasis, and excretion. So, and after we achieve this, we kind of go to the next level and the next level and the next level. And all of us, when this crisis happened, we can move up or down. We were, before we this started, the economy was good and we were doing really good. And when this happened, all of us were kind of going down to the first level. So how do I get food? Will I run out of toilet paper? Basic things that we need to do. So once we achieve that, then we go on to the next level, the safety level. And after that, we go to our family and we kind of move up. But something can happen where we are down back to the first level. So this is a fluid process. It goes up and down, and this is something that you have to understand for you to get to the next, get better. Okay. In this particular slide, there are two things that are very important: food, water, and sleep. So it goes without saying that getting food, having food, access to food are very important. This was a problem before, it is a problem much more now. So this is something that you have to do. People can do two things. People can either overeat or not eat because they're stressed. We don't want both. We want something in the middle. We want moderation. And we want, if you are stress eating, opening the fridge and eating things, you have to recognize this. I'm stressed, that's what I'm eating about. So this is something that I'm going to get better about. Okay, I'm going to say, if I'm going to eat healthy, or some option that you have. The other aspect of is that you're not eating. If you do not eat, your body will have problems. You need to eat so that you're able to deal with the things that come. Your brain needs fuel. The other issue is also drinking water. It goes without saying, everybody needs to drink water. I bet when we are at home, we think that we are going to drink water, but I don't know if you're actually doing that or not. These are things that we need to do. I am going to talk about sleep. A lot of you have expressed a lot of questions about sleep. Sleep is one of those things that we need to get better. Now, when you have lack of sleep, there are adaptive ways to deal with lack of sleep and maladaptive ways to deal with lack of sleep. Adaptive ways would be to have to stick with your circadian rhythm. That means just be you, a lot of you are at home, you're in quarantine, you are trying to function at home, you're not working from home. This is a crisis and you're trying to do the best that you can. So you have to remember that, and you must get back to the routine and pattern that you used to do. For example, if you sleep at 9 o'clock, just because you're working from home tomorrow, you don't have to go to office, you don't get to watch TV till 11, or you don't get to um, do other things. You have to have a set bedtime. You example, these are all examples. You get up at 6 in the morning and you sleep at 9, and this is how you do. Just before you go to sleep, you set your body preparing itself for sleep. Okay, I'm going to sleep at 9 o'clock. I'm going to turn off the TV. I'm going to do something that relaxes me, take a shower, drink some warm milk, and things like that. You need to tell your brain, okay, I'm going to sleep at 9 o'clock. This is not going to be a late night out. I don't need to do that. Doing this circadian rhythm keeps your sleep structure intact. Now, if you slept during the day, then you can't sleep at night. So that's another thing that you have to avoid. If you're feeling sleepy during the afternoon, this was one of the questions that they had. Try not to take a nap, or listen to music, or do any number of things that you can do. Just walk around, or sip some tea, or whatever you need to do. So if these are not working, the other thing that you can do is to stop drinking coffee after 2 o'clock, to take sleepy time tea. Exercise is very important. If you exercise, it kind of maintains your sleep structure. So do whatever you can to help you to get to sleep. Now, the maladaptive ways of dealing with stress is using alcohol and or maybe drugs. Now, alcohol is okay occasionally, but if you were to use it regularly, it disrupts your sleep architecture, and you will not be able to stay asleep. You will have early morning awakening. It has the potential for addiction. So alcohol is not something that is conducive to normal sleep. That's one thing that you have to avoid. It goes without saying, it has the potential for addiction too. If you were to take medications, you can use occasionally melatonin. It's a natural neuropeptide that we produce, and you can try it, but this is not something that you need to take it on a regular basis. So use your bedroom for only, I mean, your bed for only sleep and intimacy. Don't be doing things that activate it. So I would say one another thing that I want to talk about in this slide is about safety. And we are talking about security of body, employment, resources. Once you've achieved the physiological process, when you're going higher up, the other one that you need to do is safety. And this is something that is all right for you to be worried about if you are going to grocery shopping. Before it was, you could just, like, maybe it was a family event, all of the family went to the Indian store and you ate buffet there and shopped and came, or it was a non-brainer, you just did whatever. But now it's a conscious thing to think about it. Okay, I'm going to the store, I need to take this precaution, I need to take these precautions, and that's totally fine. It's totally fine for you to do that. Safety also is not only of uh, think broader in terms of safety, in the sense that, is it really good for my well-being to be on Twitter and face me, whatever news, to listen to this over and over again, because when I did this last time it upset me. Okay, this is not what I'm going to do now, because it really doesn't help me. So I'm going to, you have to decide what works for you. You can say, as a family, we are going to watch the 4 o'clock news, and then we can discuss if you have any concerns, and that's it. That's all we are going to do. We are not going to check everything. So and the other one is connectedness. There was a lot of questions about loneliness. This is something that was before, it was a problem, and it still is a problem. Now, loneliness, you have to reach out. You cannot isolate yourself. You have to reach out. You have any number of people trying to willing to help. So you can call any of the crisis hotline. You can call your family. You can call your work. You can call, for example, this Tamil Sangam that is doing, there are probably people that are there ready to volunteer. So connectiveness helps us. And this is something that you have to do it. You cannot be in your room isolating, thinking. Okay, so you need to act on that. Okay, can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so we are in a crisis. This is like never happened before in all our life, and we are trying to plan in this crisis. We are doing the planning at a family level. Family, where is the money coming from? What are we going to do with food? Where is the workspace going to be? We are planning it in the neighborhood. Okay, can we go out to the park? Is this grocery store good, or whatever? And then the school, the kids that are going in school also have a plan in place. This is the plan, this is the synchronous learning, asynchronous learning, all these things that are doing. And there is also work. So imagine, there is not one crisis at home, crisis in neighborhood, crisis in work. So give yourself a break and say, okay, I'm going to do what I can. Okay, I'm going to try. These are new problems coming each day, another problem, and you say, okay, I'm going to try to figure out a way through this. And mm, I wanted to talk about, if this is overwhelming, okay, this is overwhelming, this is too much, I want you to think about this and do the next best step. That's all you need to do. You need to take baby steps. Sometimes the baby step is just going to take a deep breath and kind of center myself, or it could be like, you know what, I should talk to my wife, or I should talk to my employer about this, and they're already there to help. So I think they put the new slide already. Let perfect is the enemy of good. This is an old saying for Voltaire. So I'm going to say that, do a good enough job. So Winnicott coined the term called good enough mothering. So when a new baby comes into a family, it's very tough for the family to adjust, and mothers want to be perfect, and that's when he termed this good enough mothering. So the same principle: do good enough with your job, do good enough with work, do good enough with things like that. Don't aim for perfection, just do a good enough job. And like I said, try to take the next best step. The next best step would be, okay, let's open the fridge. Do we need to go? We may not like this cereal, but it is there. We are going to eat that. We don't need to go out and figure this out if it is overwhelming for us. Or I'm just giving an example, so it can be any number of things. Okay. So can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so I'm now going to talk about some of the practical steps that they are. There are any number of things that we are going to talk about. The first one that I'm going to talk about, something called hero wellness training, body scan meditation, mindfulness breathing, and gratitude. So can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so in our brain, we have chemicals that produce happiness: dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, and there are also parts of our brain that do specific things: nucleus accumbens, ventral striatum, amygdala, hypothalamus. All these are control our happiness, um, and they are chemicals that produce it. I told you, brain is the most amazing thing, and we can train our brain. We can do this, and one of the ways that you can practically do is called hero wellness training. Your perceived happiness reduces your stress levels. So I'm going to go to the next slide. I'm going to talk to you about one. Okay, so I want you guys to take a moment, write down 2 positive things you'd like to experience today. And you can visualize these movements for 2 to 3 times twice a day. And these kind of help. These help you to kind of go to a better day. The other one is to think of a project that inspires you. Put down the start date on a calendar. And these kind of things do. Your mind is trainable. There is neuroplasticity. You can control the effect of the stress in your environment. So this is one. Hero wellness training is one of the things that you can do. Can I go to the next slide, please? Okay. I tried to simplify this very to basic levels. I came up with this mnemonic called ask. In this pandemic, ask yourself this. Ask of this of your friends, of your family, of your work. First and foremost in this mnemonic is acceptance. Second is strength and structure. And the third is kindness. You ask yourself acceptance, strength and structure, and kindness. Okay, can I go to the next slide, please? Okay, so my grandfather used to say this: what cannot be cured must be endured. I used to hate it when he used to say it, but as I grew older, I understood it. We have not found a cure for COVID. This is happening to us. We have to endure it. So we have to accept it. What do we have to accept? We have to accept the statistics that are happening. We have to accept the negative feelings that we are having. We have to accept the fear, the lack of control, the unpredictability. Acceptance, once you do it to yourself, will help you to find a solution. That is the first step. Okay, now comes strength and structure. So all of us have strengths in us. We do know what our strengths are. Some of us know right away, I'm very organized. I am a list maker. I manage my time very well. I have a good sense of humor. So you use those strengths that helped you in the crisis to get through this crisis again. Okay. So some people will say, oh, I'm I don't know, it's very tough for me to make a list of my strengths. This was something that we did in grade school. You could write your name on a piece of paper and send it to people that know you, and they will say, "Oh, you forgot. You're really a funny guy. You always are there for me. You're a good listener." That will tell you the strengths that will help you to get through there. Of course, your strength could be your family, it could be religion, it could be any of your special traits that you've had that helped you go through some stressful times. Think about that and kind of believe in yourself. That will really help you. The other important thing is to have structure in your day. I cannot emphasize this. You must have structure in your day. Most people are working from home. I'm like, what day it is? No, you need to have structure in your day. How does that structure look like? So you get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you take a shower if that's what you do in the morning, you pray to God if that's what you do, you whatever you do, you need to have structure in your day, and you have to have structure in your week. Okay, Wednesday is the day that we do laundry, Thursday is the day we cook together. Whatever it is there, that structure needs to be there. This structure helps you to kind of help you to function and do the things that you need to do. The other important thing is not only do you have structure for yourself, you have to have structure around you also. So you have to have good boundaries with work. So you cannot say, I'm working from home, so I'm going to work like 24 hours. No, I'm going to have my work life balance. I'm going to stop checking emails say after 3:30. That's it. That's what will help me from whatever you need to do for your mental peace. That's what you need to do. You also need to have structure around news, structure around social media, structure around other things. You need to implement these. The last is kindness. Okay. I actually think that we are very hard on ourselves. We are always achievers. We are motivated. We are always trying to do things. But this is the time to practice self care. And being self care is not selfish. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You need to fill that. If you are a boss, if you are a worker, if you are a mother, if you are a teacher, whatever you are, you need to have that. And when you have kindness, you have to have kindness to yourself, kindness to your family members, like your kids. Your kids did not sign you up for teachers. Probably some of you are good teachers, but some of you may not be. So give the kids a break. Okay. So be kind to your family members. Some of them are very good in expressing what they are. Some of them will not be good in expressing what they are feeling, and you say, what, I'm going to cut you some slack because I know something is going on. We can talk about this, or we can come back to that. That's the other thing that you do. You practice kindness. um, when you think of this kindness, you have to change the vocabulary in your head, meaning that you cannot say, I should do this, I should be able to function, I should be able to do whatever, I must do this. I want you to change that vocabulary, kind of changing, saying that, okay, it would be good if I can work from home without being interrupted, whatever. So you change that must and should to say, I wish this was, I could, or something like that. Don't be so rigid in it. Don't have the bar so high that you always fail. You lower the bar. You lower the bar so it's good enough and you pass through this crisis. It's okay. It's okay. Okay. So, like I told you, set an intention in the morning, have structure in your day, practice kindness. If you goof up, say, okay, all right, I'm going to start again. It's okay, I'm going to start again. Okay. So, can we go to the next slide, please? Actually, this is the Hero Wellness scale. It's a validated scale. If people do want to do it, I just have it there for you guys to practice it if you need it. Okay. Can we go to the next slide? Okay. The other one, this is a very useful one, is called body scan meditation. Some of us are very in tune, we know and listen to our body. Some of us are not very in tune, and we are learning this. This is a good way to understand your body and your mind. Some cultures, it's not acceptable to have stress. We are taught that you should overcome it. And some cultures, it's totally okay to talk about that. So kind of this helps you. So basically you sit in uh, um, sit in a place and focus your attention one by one on your toes and kind of move forward. So you just sit in a place, be conscious of where you are, and think about, okay, how are the feelings in my toes? How am I feeling in my ankles? Is there any stress? And you kind of go forward. And if a thought or an emotion arises, notice it without judging and let it go. For example, I don't know if you've ever played with a little kitten or if you ever had played with a small puppy in your life. Puppies don't listen; they just have the mind. They're going here and there, here and there. So, like that, think of your mind as a small animal or a small child, and let it go. If the thought comes, and let it go. Another example is like you are driving a bus, and if that thought comes, the thought is there, but you're doing your job and doing progressive muscle relaxations because that thought will leave. Think of like a passenger getting on a bus and getting off the bus. You are still doing the things that you do. You know, this is something that you do. In this, I also want to talk about something called progressive muscle relaxation. Progressive muscle relaxation also helps you to sleep. So, okay, so you are trying to sleep, but your mind is going, and you want to slow it down, but you can't slow it down. So you lay in bed and you say, you know what, my mind is not slowing down, but I'm going to teach my body to relax. So what you do is then you lay in bed, you take breaths, and then you say, I'm going to relax my little toe. I'm going to relax my ankle. And you progressively go one side, the other side. I guarantee this will work because this will help you to put you to sleep. You are not focused on the thought and the inner dialogue that keeps spinning like a hamster on the wheel, but you're focused on relaxing your body. This is called progressive muscle relaxation. This is another technique that you guys can do. Okay. Can I have the next slide, please? Okay, this is another one. This is called mindful breathing. We have a big treasury of pranayamas and all those things that are there, but I'm just going to boil it down to one simple thing. So I'm going to talk to you about the technique and I'll tell you why this works. Okay. Mindful breathing is where you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold your breath for 7 seconds, and you exhale slowly for 8 seconds. Remember how I told you that you have to train your mind. So when you learned how to drive, you had to remember holding the steering wheel, which is the clutch, which is the accelerator. You have to remember the signals and the lights and everything. But now that people that know driving can just do it. So the same way, this is something that you have to train. It will not come automatically. You have to do it morning, noon, and night. You have, if you practice this, I guarantee this will change your life. This will really make a big difference in your life. So do you guys want to practice it a bit? Maybe sit back in your chair, relax your shoulders, let go of any tension in it, and okay, breathe in for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathe slowly out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So, I mean, we did it kind of fast, but if you do it, it does work. Okay. Okay. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, in our body, there is the brain, and then there is the nerves that go in the body, and we have the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Think of them as the gas and the brake, okay? So sympathetic is the one that gives you the flight and fright response, and the parasympathetic helps with the rest and digest. So doing the deep exhale changes the nerve wiring, especially of the parasympathetic, and brings us back and calms us down. This is why I told you this is the most important thing that you can do. This is the one that will make a big difference in your life. The ratio, you want to inhale 1, exhale 2. It's okay if you want to do 4 and 4, but try to do 4 and 8 or something like that, because that really makes a difference. Okay. Okay, can I go to the next slide, please? Okay, gratitude. So I think gratitude made a full circle. When we were growing up in our culture, we had gratitude for a lot of things. I remember my grandparents had a ritual before they ate their meal that they would do. They were grateful for the food that they did. If we have a new car, a lot of us take it to the temple to offer, and we have gratitude for having a new car. Or even simple things like if we had a new shirt or pant, we would put a little bit of turmeric, and somehow that kind of moved back to having a gratitude rock and gratitude bracelet and gratitude things. And it's okay as long as you practice the principle, it's good. Gratitude is also very, very essential. So how can I practice gratitude? Before you start your day, I told you about getting up in the morning, having a set time to get up, set the intention for the day, and think about 3 things that you're grateful for. Genuinely think of 3 things that you're grateful for. Being grateful brings you back to the present, and it has known to increase your happiness. So you can do whatever helps you to do this. Practice this whenever you're feeling overwhelmed. Oh my God, this is overwhelming. I'm going to practice those 3 things. I can do that. It's only 3 things. I can practice that. So, so one of the things that you can do is, okay, I'm going to have a gratitude journal. I'm going to have it in my desk, and I'm going to write 3 things that I'm there. That's something that you can do too. And coming back to journaling, right? Another technique is journaling. So you can have a book, any book, or you guys probably are better on computer, so you can write something on the computer too. Pick a time. So I'm going to journal from 8 to 8:10, or from after a lunch from 10:10. And then you journal whatever feeling comes, whatever rambling thoughts come to your mind, just journal them. And then it helps you to get that out. That is called a process called ventilation. So you just kind of let it go. I'm like overwhelmed about my boss is saying this, my wife is whatever comes, you write it. Okay. And then when you include this in the journal, say day 1 you do it, and day 8 you're having a tough day, you look back in day 1 and say, that was a tough day. I got through that day. I can get through this day. So that's another thing that you guys can do. So I love gratitude. I have implemented it, and it really does make a difference to me. So I would like for us to try 3 things. So I want us to take a minute, okay, and do this. So I'm going to give you an example how to do that, okay? So well, I'm really genuinely grateful that I have running water in my house. I can turn on the tap and I will get clean water. I will get hot water. I'm really grateful that I don't have to worry about a basic essential like water. Okay. So the other thing that I'm grateful for is having electricity. I grew up, there used to be power cuts. So I don't have to worry about that. That's not going to happen. I have electricity. I have, well, this internet access that I can talk with all of you guys here. So I'm really genuinely grateful for that. So I want you guys to practice it because it really makes a difference in your life. Okay. So um, can we go on to the next slide, please? Okay. There are other things that you can do. Sometimes what happens is that our brain believes truths that are not based on reality. This is a very complex thing called cognitive behavior therapy. So our brain believes things that are not true. One of them is catastrophizing, thinking that everything is going to go to hell, it's going to be worse. Or sometimes we only take the negative of the whole thing or something like that. So there are ways that you recognize these faulty thinkings, and then you document them and you challenge them, and you correct them. So people can do notebooks. One of the techniques that you can use is don't sweat the small stuff. That's a book, and you can borrow it from the library, or you can look it up on any number of things. But can just simplify, just I will just even simplify it even now, that how you can retain your brain. One of this is called half smile. Putting a smile on your face can actually lift your mood. When you smile, you tell your brain you're happy. Also, you notice people treat you more kindly when you wear a smile. This is not like I don't want you to grin and going, but just have a smile. So it kind of changes the neurochemistry and kind of helps you. When you smile, it changes the muscles and it releases chemicals for you to do this. This is kind of like calling. This is one technique called as if behavior. Okay. Okay, all of these sound really, really good, but even more simple thing is to observe your breath. This is a very simple skill that can dramatically change how you cope with your life. If you notice you're getting upset, just concentrate on your breath and nothing else. Just sit. How am I breathing? I'm overwhelmed. How am I breathing? Then you'll notice that you're not taking deep breaths. The stress response that we talked about in the first slide will come back. Oh, yes. I'm just going to take a deep, calming breath. This helps the brain, oxygen go to the brain, and it helps. Okay. This is some of the things that you can easily do. Okay. Can I get the next slide, please? Okay. I just included this. This is from 1918. This is the Spanish flu. Humans, we have a short memory. We forget. There have been pandemics. There have been bubonic plagues, and people have gone through it and they survived. And we have done amazing discoveries from it. One of the things that really surprised me was when Newton discovered gravity, Newton's laws. Apparently, he was a student in Cambridge, and this was 1665. They had bubonic plague. He was sent home. Imagine, Cambridge was closed, and he went home to his hometown. He was isolating, and he was eating an apple, and the apple fell, and he discovered gravity, Newton's laws. So I I believe that good things will come. Having a positive attitude doesn't mean what is happening right now doesn't suck. It means that this too shall pass. We will have good days and we will have better things happening. Okay. So you can see, they're all wearing masks and they're all having, there's a notice saying that it's closed. So this too shall pass. We will overcome this. Can I have the next slide, please? Okay, now we are going to talk about the questions. I wanted to talk about what are the long-term impacts of missing milestones like graduations and funerals during this pandemic. I shouldn't have clubbed them together, but that's how, I was just wanting to have them concise. When we talk about losing a loved one, this is a very important thing that is happening to us. All of us are experiencing grief. There is never, grief is universal. Everybody in the world does experience grief. We all go through it. And when we experience grief, this can be a very isolating process. Kubler-Ross said that we have to go through stages of grief. The first stage is called denial. They're in shock. Did it happen? Then there is anger at God, anger at yourself, anger at whatever. Then there is bargaining. I should have done this. If I did this. And then there is sadness, profound sadness. And last comes acceptance. It doesn't mean that the person goes through them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sometimes they're angry and they can go to denial again, and then they come to sadness and they're in denial. You have to process these stages of grief. And a lot of you have asked me, how do I deal with this if my family is very far away, or if it's never easy to lose a loved one, a parent, and each of us has to come to terms with this. So people who have experienced grief will say, like, if this is zero, when you experience grief, you never go back to zero. You start at some other point. There's this big gap, and it takes people time to heal. We are not robots, we are human beings, we have feelings. So it takes a while for this gap to fill, and after a while we fill it with things. Just now I quoted my grandfather. So they live through us, and but it takes a while for us to get there, and it's okay, it's okay. That's what we are. The other topic is about important milestones like graduation and things like that. So this one is very important. It is two ways. It is, so first and foremost, you have to ask the child, okay, sweetie, what is going on? I mean, you're going to miss your graduation. What do you think of it? You may be surprised. Your kids are amazing. They are amazing people who will teach you every day about yourself, about themselves, about the world. uh, they just are amazing. So when this happens, they will tell you, mom, it's not a big deal, or dad, it's not a big deal, or they will say, I was expecting to spend some time with my family. And you guys are much more well versed that how to connect with them using technology, using phones, or whatever you can connect with them. Sometimes it is about that they don't really care that much, but they're worried about not getting a present. And you say, okay, we'll try to see what we can do for the present. So you have to validate what they are feeling. Let them talk about it. Let them say, this is what is going on. Let them and then you kind of go with whatever they want. um, yeah, so okay, dovetailing that, it's how do I talk with children and adolescents about the need for social distancing and the sacrifices that entails. So, a lot of you have asked about children. A lot of questions were about children and school and family and things like that. In children, there are two things. There is elementary school, and then there is the high schoolers. So, for all of them, children need structure. Children are like videotapes. They are watching what you're doing. If you are running helter skelter, you are not sleeping, you are doing whatever, and then they'll think they can do whatever. But if you say it's going to be okay, we are going to get through this as a family, it's you have to reassure them. You have to protect them from social media and things like that. You have to have structure to their day. You have to say, this is the time you sleep, pandemic or not, this is the time you eat your food, yes or whatever, you will wash your hands. And you will also work with you know um, limiting their social media, limiting those things that can help them, having that structure, validating them. And when it comes to schooling, a lot of questions were asked. So I talked to you about, you guys, some kids are very easy to teach, some kids are very hard to teach. Some parents are good teachers, some parents are really bad teachers. So give yourself a break. More important, give your kids a break. Okay, they didn't sign up for you as a parent to teach algebra when you don't know what it is and you forgot all the rules and the science. So give yourself a break and give yourself. So try your best. And if you're struggling, you're not alone in. You can talk to the school and you say, okay, you can tell the teacher, this is what is happening. It could be a simple fix like, let's both watch a Khan Academy video or something, or let's Google it and learn about it. Or it could be something complex as talking with the teacher. So you are not alone in it. So that's one of the things that that was one of the questions that you guys had about children. Let's see, what was another question that you guys, I mean, they were really good questions that you asked for children. Mm, okay, the other thing that you wanted to know about uh, kids' sleeping patterns and eating patterns was changed. Should be worried about it? Yeah, you need to change their patterns back to what they were before. The other one that you wanted to know was what are some symptoms in children that you need to notice what is going on. Obviously, it goes without saying that some kids process this well and some kids may not process and may regress it. You have to control your reaction to them around them, and you have to talk to them in the way that they talk. And if they are isolating, if they are talking about doing some self-harm behaviors, that's when you are concerned and you must get some help. Okay. That comes to the next question. When do I seek help of mental health professionals? For the majority of us, we are doing this crisis and we are trying the best. Supposing if you have extreme stress and you feel like there is a break in reality, that means you are seeing things that are not there, or hearing things that are not there, or you feel like your life is not worth living and you're better off dead. Yes, that's when you want to get mental health professional help. Sometimes before I would have said if it causes occupational and social dysfunction. However, all our occupational and social dysfunction, everybody is experiencing this. So cut yourself some slack, okay? So, but if you have these two dangers, that's when you would do. Now, what apps or resources you recommend online? Can I go to the next slide, please? Yeah, so this is National Alliance of Mental Illness. This is a very good resources. There are lots of webinars and lots of things that you can do. There are a lot of apps you can get. I'm not going to advocate for this app or that app, but if you go to National Alliance of Mental Illness, there are a lot of resources that you can do. American Psychiatric Association has a lot of pamphlets that you can do. And of course, there is the CDC that you can go through. So these are the resources that you would do. I'm going to go to the questions. I can have the next slide up. So some of the questions that you asked were, I think a majority of them I did try to cover. Okay, well, one of the things that they asked was, getting bored at times. I see increased use of alcohol, sometimes using pills for sleep. Please advise how to keep in control. I did talk about this. This is very important. And the curiosity of checking coronavirus has increased almost a lot. Every hour started checking. Is that good or bad? If it impacts your mental health, it's not something that sometimes knowledge helps people and they say, okay, it's something that I can control. But if it is getting too much, don't check it all the time. Um, and Oh, this was a really good one. Due to the advice given on COVID-19 cleanliness, my cleaning habit of washing hands has increased a lot. Now I fear I have OCD. How to balance this thought? This is a very good question. Okay, I like this question a lot because so if I am sitting in my home and I've not gone out and I'm washing my hand a lot, touching nothing, not going to the bathroom, just sitting here. If I'm sitting here, I'm talking to you guys and washing, then that's a problem. So if you go to the bathroom, if you go outside, whatever the CDC recommends, if you're doing, that's appropriate. However, you are at the sink in your home, washing your hands, you wash your hands, immediately you look at your hand and you think that they are dirty, even though there is no evidence of it, then only I would consider it a problem. So this is an obsession that you're having and you are doing a compulsion by washing your hand, reinforcing negatively what you're doing. So this you have to stop. You have to stop by a process called thought blocking, and that's what you would say, you know what, I just wash my hands. If I feel like this, I'm going to block this thought and I'm going to call my friend, I'm going to do something. So that's one of the things that would be a problem. This was a really good one. Almost it's weeks since I washed my face, makeup, haircut, or any personal care, since fear of going to salons. This fear is demotivating how to bounce back from them. And it goes without saying, you are dressing up for yourself first and foremost. You're brushing your teeth because it's good. You're combing your hair because it's good. You are, of course, you probably cannot cut your hair, but you can dress up. You can put nice clothes on, put clean clothes on, and this is something that you have to do. And having this does help you. Like in one of the first things they teach in military barracks is to make your bed. That helps. That little task, if you master it, if you master the little task, then you can master the task. That is what they believe. And the same thing I will tell you, that if you brush your teeth, if you shower, if you wear good clothes, if you put lipstick every day, put lipstick. If you put gel on your hair, put every day. And that little mastering will give you this is okay, I'm going back to this my routine and I'm able to do things. Well, the other one that they asked is lack of entertainment and celebrations bring sad feelings. What can we do to make it better? So there's entertainment and there is celebrations that you talked about. You can still celebrate you, but it is kind of nuanced what you can do and how you can celebrate it. Of course, you can use technology. You guys probably know this more than me. I won't tell you, but there are other ways that you can change how you celebrate it. Maybe this birthday you will not have a cake, but this is the birthday that you will sit and make um, face mask that you're going to donate to a hospital or something like that. And okay, there are skills that you may wanted to develop. Maybe you can start a virtual book club. Maybe you can watch old movies. There are other things that you can do. One important thing that I would say is for yourself is make friends with yourself. Make friends with yourself. It's very simple thing to say, but it's something that it's a concept that I want you to do. If you make friends with yourself and if you accept who you are, the ideas will come. So many ideas will come. Okay. I think I will end my talk here and I will be happy to take any questions. Thank you so much again for this opportunity. I really want all of you guys to stay safe and we will get through this together.
Great. Thank you so much, Doctor. Dr. Arumugam, do you have anything to add? Okay, maybe we are having some trouble connecting. Um, but
Can you hear me?
sorry. Yes, yes.
Yeah, that was a wonderful talk, and thank you for all those very practical tips. And both in personal health, financial health, and mental health, you need to take care of yourself first. As you rightly said, in the flight, when there is an emergency, they say the gas mask is falling, put the mask in your face first before putting into your children. It sounds counterintuitive, but the truth is, unless you take care of yourself, you cannot take care of your children. That is true for mental, physical health, and other things. And one other thing I wanted to emphasize is this word social isolation. That's kind of misnomer. What the public health professionals and doctors are saying is physical isolation, to stay away from 6 feet from another person. We are not asking mental isolation or psychological association. In fact, in this time of crisis, we should have extra contact with your inner circles, whoever is your close friends and family members. You should try to talk to them as frequently as you can. And I have
Absolutely.
few questions.
You're absolutely right. It's actually a misnomer.
Yes. And we are sandwich generation. My parents live with us, knowing them are elderly at increased risk. And how do I go about in my life with the constant fear of they are going to get virus? We live far away from our loved ones who are at a greater risk of contacting COVID-19. How do I cope? These are all honest, genuine problem. Uh, I don't know there is any easy answer to this.
So I'm assuming your parents are in India and
Mm.
you are here, and it's incredibly difficult. It's incredibly difficult. But like I said, do the next best step and kind of do right, be in the present right now. Right now, they don't have COVID, you don't have COVID, and you're okay, they are okay. Okay, so this is the next best step. This is the step, that time that you do baby steps. Okay, you will cross that bridge when you get to that bridge. You don't have to bring tomorrow's worries into today. When that day comes, you will know what to do.
So one other thing is I feel like we are not only in pandemic, we are also in information epidemic. There is so much of information, and how do I set boundaries and stay informed? As you rightly said, that use reputable, reliable source for your news gathering, and when you always don't verify the source, and especially make sure it is reputable, especially before forwarding to anyone else. Just make sure it is reliable and authentic value. Don't spread all the fear mongering which happens in the social media. And you also said there are certain things we can change, certain things we can't. I remember a prayer which says, God, give me the serenity to uh, accept those things which I cannot change, and the courage to change those which I can, and the wisdom to differentiate these two things. And this
Yes,
is really an important thing.
right. You're absolutely right. So you, I will quote Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl is a victim of Nazi era, and this is what he said: between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and freedom. You cannot change your environment, but you can change your reaction to it.
So, and if you can open up the uh, forum to anybody who wants to ask questions. So I just wanted to ask, just help me to understand how this random act of kindness and this gratitude, uh, maintaining a gratitude list and other things help us to overcome the stress,
So when you're
physiologically.
when you're grateful, when you're grateful, it grounds you. You cannot be grateful about things that did not happen. They are happening right now in this moment. And it kind of brings you to the present. It makes you more mindful, and it change it, there are so many studies, so it brings you to the present, it makes you more mindful, it changes your neurochemistry. And this for example, okay, so I'm going to use the model of AA. I practice addiction psychiatry, and when I first was learning about AA, I really didn't understand what is the concept of AA and why is it
Alcoholic
like
Anonymous. You can remember.
alcoholic. So basically, when I looked at it, all of us in our brain have something called mirror neurons. So when you pick up a baby, the baby smiles at you, and you are smiling at the baby, and nobody teaches the baby how to smile. The baby is smiling at you. This is because we have mirror neurons, and human beings learn from each other, from their behavior, and doing this acts of service helps us to create. It stays longer. The happiness that it generates stays longer. Um, we have so many sayings that we believe that all men are children of Vishnu, because people who were before us realized this, and somehow we lost it, and now we are picking it up again. To serve humanity helps you more than it helps the other person.
When you do random kind of actness and charitable things or any service, the the person who is giving get lot more benefit than the recipient. It gives
Yes,
lot more joy to do.
yeah, there have been studies that show this.
Are there any other questions? Anyone else? So it is already 3:10. If there are any no more questions, we can wind down. I just want to say, as a professional, uh, doctors, I hear all the people giving interview in the television that we are all doctors. We are trying to take care of sick individuals. When we signed up to be a doctor, this is what we signed up for. But what is difficult is seeing so many sick people at the such a short interval. That's what overwhelms. And we want to, as a doctors and nurses, we get represented in all the gratitude and other things. As a person working in the hospitals and the medical system, we know we are only a small portion of the big team of individuals who makes this happen. There are lots of uh, pharmacists and respiratory therapists and social worker and receptionist. They're all need to deserve the credit. Yesterday in the global citizenship, Laura Bush and Michelle Obama gave a very wonderful gratitude speech saying that we should be grateful not only to the all the healthcare workers, all the people who do this food chain from agricultural to transportation to grocery worker and who delivery the food and the first responders. These are all these are the people who are the fabrics of this society, and we should be grateful to each other. It's not going to be easy, but we will get through this. And I just want to remind the audience that next week, this is the series of webinar we initiated. This is our first webinar, and we are hoping to have many more. And the success of this webinar is entirely dependent on your participation. Fine. Next week on April 26th, Sunday at 3 p.m. instead of 2 p.m. today. Next week it is going to start at 3 p.m. about the financial management during this uncertain time by Mr. Raghunathan Rajagopalan. He is from Northwestern Mutual. Please register yourself and submit your questions. Just like today's questions, all questions are going to be anonymous. Fine. Even the coordinators, we don't know who's asking what type of questions. All this mental health, financial health is a highly taboo subject. We are stigma. After sex, these are the two important, finance and mental health is very taboo subjects. And if you don't want to ask in open, please give us anonymously. We will collect it. And thank you for attending this. And I thank Dr. Sreejaya Veluvali in really a very short notice. I know how hard work you are doing, especially in this type of crisis. And she was on call, and in spite of all these things, taken time. When you're giving talk, I know I have a lot of stage fear. When I have to give a talk for 1 hour, I need to prepare at least for 2, 3, 5, 10 hours of preparation. Even on those subjects, you know very well, we have been managing the subject on every day. In spite of that, when you have to talk to someone, it needs lots of preparation and organization. I thank you, Steve. Our sincere thanks and from the bottom of our heart. Thank you.
Totally my pleasure. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I'm very happy to help.